Hi there, and welcome to another tutorial about Cosmoplastic. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do the plastic text that you see in front of you. So the first thing that you want to do when you're doing this, obviously would be to start off with a new layer, and a new palette, and I'm going to make mine 800 by 400, and the resolution at 72. Click OK. And for this, you want a dark background. I'm going to make mine a dark brown, which is 221400. And okay. Now after you've done this, you want to get your text tool and write whatever word that you want to use, or words I should say. I'm going to make mine a green color. I'm just going to use the word plastic. Now my text is a bit small for me, so I'm going to make it a bit bigger. Let's say 150 should be good. And if you want to use the text that I am, here are my settings. Okay, after you've done that, you want to pull up the blending options box, because most of this tutorial is going to be done using layer style options. Okay, so the first thing that you want to add is a drop shadow. You want to leave everything up here the same. You want to change the distance to 2 and the size to 20. And then go to inner shadow. Leave all of this the same again. Change the distance to 0 and change the size to 12. Sorry, 12. Okay, now you want to go to the outer glow option, or the option box. As you can see, it automatically casts this yellow outer glow around our text, but since our text is green, we don't want a yellow outer glow. So we're going to change this to a green color. And click OK, and as you can see, it's now like a bright green. And we're going to change the opacity to 5%. And come down to where it says elements, and underneath size you want to change it to 68, and then go back over and check the bevel and emboss option, and underneath structure you want to change the size to 6 and leave everything else in the structure box alone, and then come down to shading, and where it says highlight mode, it says screen, and then it has the highlight color set for white and the opacity at 75. We don't want to use a highlight at all for this, so you're just going to set it as 0. And then for the shadow mode, you're going to change this color from black to, once again, green. Any green that you want to use. It doesn't have to match your text exactly. And change the opacity to 56. And after you've done that, you want to check the contour box right below it. And under contour, you want to click this arrow and choose the rounded steps contour option and change the range to 57. Alright, now we're going to go to the gradient overlay option, change the blend mode to overlay, and for the gradient you want to have a gradient that goes from whatever color that you're using, in this case green, to black. So first I'm going to double click on that and change it to a green color. And then I'm going to double click on the white arrow down here and change it to black. And click OK. Click OK again. Now for the style, we're going to change that from linear to radial. Leave align with layer alone and leave the angle set at 90 degrees, but I do want to change the opacity down to 45 because over here it's way too dark. So we're going to change this down to 45%. And then lastly, let's go down to stroke. Change the position to inside, the blend mode to multiply, and the size to 1 pixels. And then once again, as you probably guessed, we're going to change the color to green. Click OK. Now, a really cool option in the layer styles box is when you do this, you can add this as a new style, and you can name it whatever you want. I'm going to name mine plastic text and click OK, and then when you click styles up here, it's right there. So if you ever want to do this again and you're too lazy to go through all the drop shadow and inner shadow and outer glow and all that stuff, you can just click this and then come to all of these boxes and change it from green to whatever color you're using at that moment. So I'm going to click OK. Now we have our text partially done. The next thing that we want to do is add a gradient to it so that when we delete part of the gradient, it looks like plastic. So you want to come down here and make a new layer by pressing this, or Shift Control / Command N. So I'm just going to make a new layer down here. And then while hovering or beside the word plastic on our layers box is the icon with the T in it that signals to us that it's text. So you want to select your new layer, but pressing Control or Command, hover over that icon, and as you can see, a little box shows up, and if you click it, it selects the text or whatever happens to be on that layer. So after you've done that, you want to go up and go to Select, Modify, and Contract. And depending on the size of your text, you can contract by whatever. I'm going to contract by 4. Click OK, and as you can see, the selection size is smaller than the actual text itself. And then, still working on that new layer, we're going to go over here and make sure our foreground color is white, and then grab our gradient tool and make sure from here, like here, it goes from white to transparent, and click OK. And you can use whichever one of these gradient options that you want to use. I'm just going to use the first one, which is the linear gradient. And then you want to grab up here, and you want to make it significantly higher above the text, because if not, the text will appear way too white when you do it. So you just want to pull and drag down, and then press Control or Command D to deselect. And after you do that, you want to come over to the marquee tool and make sure you have elliptical marquee tool selected, and then make a selection around the text, still working on that new layer with the gradient on it. And once you have your selection, you can position it however you want, and then just press delete. And as you can see, we now have the plastic text. Now, of course, like I've said, since you made that style, you can go in and make a new layer, and I'm going to make this smaller, and change the color of the text to like a red. And since you saved your blending options as a style, you can just come in here and press blending options and go up to styles, and there's that style right there. And if we click it, you can see it adds all the styles that we made for the other one automatically in there. And we can just go to like outer glow and bevel and emboss and gradient overlay and stroke and change all of the greens to reds, and then do our gradient and our elliptical marquee tool and deleting, and we'll automatically have our text in there without having to go through it and re-enter all of those numbers and all those settings. So that is how you do plastic text in Photoshop. Thank you for watching this tutorial, and I hope it helped.